Okay. Hello. I'd like to call the Rutland Town School Board meeting to order at 6 p.m. on April 8th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Any additions, deletions, or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On to staff and student highlights. Who's taking those?
The first one. So we'll start. We're second grade. I'm Heather Norton, second grade teacher, and Bryn Spenceley, their second grade partner. And we brought our super second graders to just share a unit that we had just wrapped up around biographies. So we've invited some super awesome students, and they, during this unit, they have to read and research and write. And then the end of the unit, they get to dress as the person they've researched. We have adult blindfolded judges that come in, parents come in, and then they get to try to guess the identity of our characters. It's a fun unit, one of my favorites. They work really hard. And they would like to either share, it's very quick and very brief, their biography or just a favorite thing from the unit. So second grade, why don't you stand up? And we have Michaela Schifrin, Scarlett Laramie. Do you want to read yours? Okay. She's going to do.
Introducing Michaela Schifrin. Michaela Schifrin was born on March 13, 1995. She has a mom and a dad and an older brother. She is an Olympic gold medalist. She became the first woman ever with 2 wins in kiddie event. She became the first woman in history to win the first 5 World Cup races.
Thank you very much. You can stand or sit. Amelia Earhart, Emma Hogan.
Introducing Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart was born on July 24, 1897 in Abatement, Kansas. She liked to play sports. She worked as a Red Cross nurse and then learned to fly. She sets records for flying and disappeared in 1937. She sets records for high flying at 14,000 feet.
George Washington, Brody Nicholson.
Introducing George Washington. Washington was born on February 22nd, 1732. He got married to Martha Custis. They got married 10 months after they met. Washington did not have a middle name. He was the first president. He died in 1799.
Jackson Merrow, Saquon Barkley.
Introducing Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley was born on February 9th, 1997 in the Bronx. He has 3 brothers and 2 sisters. Barkley went to Penn State. He played football in the NFL for the Giants. He now plays for the Eagles. NFL rushing yards 2024 first team All-Pro.
We have Tom Brady, Brody Summers.
Introducing Tom Brady. Tom Brady was born August 3rd, 1977 in San Mateo, California. He was a professional football player in the NFL. Brady was smart because he won a lot of his games. He was hardworking because he went to a lot of Pro Bowls. He won 7 Super Bowls, 6 with the New England Patriots and 1 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's retired from the NFL and he broadcasts games on Fox.
And ageless Amy, Jane Goodall.
Introducing Jane Goodall. Jane Goodall was born on April 3rd, 1934 in London, England. In 1964, Jane married a photographer named Hugo. She studied chimps and went to Africa. She published the first of many books about chimpanzees. She also started a youth organization called Roots and Shoots. Jane watched The Tims for many years and she wrote books about them too.
In second grade, it's also really practicing our writing focus, which is 2 paragraphs by the end of second grade. So they did a great job. Thank you to the parents for bringing them
It's nice to have you share what's happening in the classroom. Makes school come alive. And they were very brave and
they were nervous. I think.
they did an excellent job.
Excited. Yeah.
They should show up how well they can do it together.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you guys.
It's so interesting.
And you don't have to stay. Now you can go. You did a great job.
Great job, second graders. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you all. Good work.
Good job, dude.
Buying the ice cream.
What's that?
I said, who's buying the ice cream?
I know, right? I know. We're gonna be in trouble when it warms up.
Yeah, I know.
Glad I understood.
Thanks, guys.
They-
I'm gonna hang out and watch the kindergarten one.
Good, yeah.
He just knows he has to wait. This is his life as a teacher's kid. He's just
Oh, yeah.
Mom's gotta talk.
He knows his place.
Yeah. We kindergarten shared just a slideshow. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to be here tonight or not. But just quickly, it's our science force in motion unit. So in kindergarten, that looks like we talk about what is a push, what is a pull. We talk a lot about friction. We talk a lot about gravity. So it's a lot of fun. Lots of different books and experiments that we work on in the classroom. And then for the last 2 or 3 years, we've had the chance to go to Wonderfeed. And they, again, kind of go through everything, talk to us about it. And the kids, they kind of pose these questions for these kids on these experiments, and they have to kind of figure it out. So you can see the kids here are like building ramps, and they had little tasks and assignments that they had to try to figure out all the way through. And then, of course, we had some fun playtime in the museum after.
That's a great resource for us, isn't it? For
Amazing, and
families.
they have so many opportunities and programs that they run. I know they do light. I know second grade is going soon. First grade's been going, so it's really awesome.
They're all busy, engaged, aren't they? They were into it.
They loved it.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so good.
All right. So next up, teacher, staff, community comments. Any comment for you, or yeah.
I'm Marty Wasserman, and I'm the Town Emergency Management Director. And I wanted to talk to the school board and the administrators for the school that we're trying to expand our emergency management within the county. And one thing I'd like to ask
Thanks,
the
Marty.
school board and the school administration
Thank
is
you.
I'd like to come when you're doing drills. I'd like to see what the drills encompass. I'd also like to see the plans. And it's not that anybody wants to take over what you've been doing, but sometimes these things become more than a one-item problem. For example, what may affect you here could be affecting another school at the same time. And we've been doing, in emergency management, we've been meeting countywide and working a lot of things together. For example, the chief of the city fire department is also their emergency management director for the town, for the city. And Bill and I have been doing a lot of things in tandem. And then Rutland Region Planning Commission kind of oversees us for our territory. And then emergency management has one man who's a retired fire chief that oversees Bennington and Rutland County. So all these things have been trying to be organized by the state. So I'm not trying to tell you how to do the things. I'm not going to run them. I just like to be invited to, if you're doing a fire drill, or you're doing an air raid drill, or you're doing an intruder drill, a lockdown. I'd like to be able to see what you do, and I'd like to know what the plans are. So, is there anything I can answer for you?
I think at this time we just listen, and then we could put it as an agenda item for the next meeting, or it's kind of out of my purview on like what the state regulations and all that are. So that would be a discussion for the admin and the superintendent.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I know that with emergency operations plans, one of the items, I was talking with Rob Evans about this, is that as we do more tabletop exercises in which we bring in, like I said, emergency management director, we bring in local police department, to fire departments, and how we respond to to an incident from multiple perspectives, and how that's coordinated. Because a lot of times we will operate within a bubble, but we really need to work with other entities as well. So that's something which we will be working on, talking about more in the fall, the summer during our admin retreat, but how we start rolling in tabletop exercises, and including yourself and other organizations as we discuss how to respond to a situation here at Rutland Town and other schools.
Just so you know, Bill Sweet, in the town, he is also the emergency management coordinator. So, which is great. Bill and I have this department, but Bill's in town all the time, and he's very available. Sometimes I'm not here, sometimes I am. But I'm very much involved with the planning and overviewing of things. So, if you'd like to have me back, I'd love to come back, but that's all I was looking to do, is getting an okay from the board that I can overview what goes on here.
Well, I don't know if necessarily the board's approval, and I think it's more, I don't think it's an overview. I think you'd be looking at how do you coordinate with our school and other entities, and how we work together to respond to an emergency. So, because I do know that we have to, there are certain regulations that the state requires us to adhere to. I know that we've talked before about the I Love You Guys and the Run, Hide, Fight are the two that's recommended by the state. But there are the Rutland County Sheriff's Department, the Rutland Town Police Department, who have different ideas about what they like Alice or this, but we have to coordinate with what Rob and the Vermont School Safety Center says around that. And so therefore you'll see when we talk about the language, there are a lot of similarities. It's just some different package approach. But I think that's where Sarah and Mike will be reaching out, and we'll start looping you in and what that may look like. And so I think it would be more of just that coordinated response to if there, whether it be a drill, if there were to be a situation here at Rutland Town, to make sure that we, our staff and our students are safe, and I think our families know that it is a coordinated response.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Marty, we have we just had a crisis team meeting last week, so Officer Perkins would be a great person if you want to touch base with him first. He's just getting his feet wet, having just started in January.
I used to talk to Andrew all the time.
Yeah. So feel free to reach out to Officer Perkins, and it's public. We will be having an all-school evacuation drill on Monday. We do have an emergency operations plan, but I just want to touch base with superintendent just because I know we don't want to share that. It's not like a public document.
There are things we
'Cause
can
there are
share within
certain-
that team. And I
right.
think- So if you would place you as part of that team, then you would have access to that. So right now, you're not on that team. We just would have to add you to that team, so we share documents. So.
You know, I don't know what I don't know what it's called, Board of Education, and I don't know what the state mandates to you, you know? And sometimes what I've found is one state agency and another state agency aren't talking the same language. That's familiar. So,
Sometimes that happens.
yeah, so what I'm trying to do is get, again, I repeat what I said. I'm not trying to tell you what you should do and how you should do it. You've been doing that for a long time. But I like to become familiar with it and work it in so everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, we do a drill once a month. There's a couple of months where we don't have a drill, but we do a drill every month. And you'll see, if you want to just take a peek on your way out, right above those tissues and hand sanitizer, there's posters that show the language that we use
Right.
for each of those drills. And yeah, if you want to reach out to Officer Perkins, I can give him a heads up. I'd be happy to meet with you too. And
Great.
as long as I get the green light from my boss, sure. Yeah, and I think it's important to connect with other agencies. Heaven forbid there ever were an emergency. You know, we're gonna.
Yeah, we don't
I'll be
want it to
calling you.
But we're lucky to have him
Yeah.
here because we didn't have anybody for a while. I kept getting that chirped in my ear from my wife. There ain't nobody up there to protect their kids. You have somebody, so you can contact him. Maybe you can come Monday and with him and watch how we
Okay.
do the
I'll get a hold
evacuation.
of him this week.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll come back to school. It's here.
You got it. You got it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank
All
you
right.
for
Thank
letting
you
me
so
speak.
much. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
On to old business. No.
Tina has her hand.
Sorry, Tina.
Hi. I just wanted to, two things. One, I'd like to thank the board for having that discussion for the Spanish curriculum this evening. I'm looking forward to hearing what's discussed later, and I think it's great just to keep looking at what we're doing and making sure that we are being effective. And I was also hoping that maybe the same lens could be looked at in the independent study program. My son has been in independent study the last 2 years, and it seems that about half of the year they do some great projects. They learn a little bit about coding, they do some extra art, they do some videography and other projects. But the other half of the year, it seems that they do a lot of gym and extra recess. And I feel like there are so many other options that could be thrown into this independent study program, such as extra Spanish practice, typing, because they don't really have a typing program at the school yet, some extra coding, maybe some other life skills, cooking. You know, there's so many other options than extra gym class. And I think what ends up happening is the kids that are taking chorus or band see, you know, their classmates out on the field having fun and having a great time, and they are inside practicing music, learning lines, memorizing things, and it's hard for them, you know, if they're not in love with what they're doing, and that looks a lot more fun. I feel like it's just an easier option for them to pick extra recess over, you know, practicing their instrument. So that was all I wanted to say. So thank you for listening.
Right. So we will move on to the Spanish class discussion. Heat up. Have a seat up here with us.
Sure. Hello.
I don't know who wants to kick it off. I assume. I think this is a follow-up from sort of a just touching base on the calibration or recalibration of the program from the last time we talked, which was, you know, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
But, because you just, made all the recommendations for the 8th graders going out, so kind of like fresh opportunity to just see how the program's gone. Your thoughts on if it stay the course or if there's other options or ideas or whatever the case may be. So
Okay.
I'm deferring to you and the administration largely on this.
Okay. Well, let me first just start by just really thanking our board for investing in the kids in language. And we are such a unique school that we offer this to elementary students and to the middle school students. So many schools, the first place that they cut is the unified arts and then languages. And so I just want to thank you for offering it to especially our little kids. All I can say is they are sponges. It is so fun to see them outside the classroom, walking. If you've ever been at the arrivals and dismissals, I stand out in the hallway for crowd control, and all they do is yell out Spanish words. I can tell you so many stories where I see the most unlikely students at sporting events turning around with nothing in front of them, speaking to me in Spanish and producing the vocabulary. It has been shocking for me. I'm like, wow, this is great. They are totally, completely getting it, and it is so, so exciting. So I just want to say thank you for that. Our typical K-8 middle schooler, if they've started in pre-K, kindergarten, will receive up to, if not more, than 300 hours of language instruction from the beginning all the way through, which is remarkable. And as we know, the more you use it, the more you hear it, the more concrete it's going to be in their heads. And so it's just awesome. So I just really want to say thank you for that. Also a thank you to those who I haven't spoken to. Thank you very much for the updated furniture in the Spanish classroom. I had been on the list for a few years, and so I just want to say thank you for that. It was a big improvement from old rickety tables and offset heights where you couldn't move the tables around, and they were just a little bit older, and the kids were so excited. It was really cute when they walked in, so thank you very much. And I just don't want to think that you all think that we just assume that this just magically appears in our classroom. So I'm just thankful for that. So Spanish-wise, I've just put in the recommendations for the freshmen, our little 8th graders going to high schools. And so, as you know, the majority of, I'll say majority, Sarah, you could probably have a better number, of our students do go to Rutland High School. So with that, Peter Patterson and I have traditionally run the program so that our 6, 7, and 8 will cover Spanish 1 curriculum, and they have the option of going into high school. I'm not sure of the programs really at other schools. I'm most familiar with Rutland High School offers Spanish 2 as the incoming freshman, which is unique. Some of the other schools do not even offer that because their middle schoolers have not had it. So with that, so this past, I guess let me back up. Last year, enrolled at Rutland High School in a Spanish 2 prep, Spanish 2 honors. We had 22 of those students. 18 of those 22 were scoring a 2.5 or higher in their Spanish 2 class. 11 of those were scoring a 3 or higher. I will say the students that are taking honors in their Spanish 2 classes are remarkable. They are scoring, some of them are scoring 3.7, if not 4s, in those honor classes. So it's just really awesome to see. This year, the recommendations for Spanish 1 prep was 22 students, and Spanish 2 prep and Spanish 2 honors was 27. I think I think it's going very well with each year. I am able to take the 7th and especially 8th grade curriculum, and I am covering more material every year. So I'm backing up my material, where last year I might have started a certain chapter in April, now I'm able to start it in February, so I'm just slowly inching back and covering more material as each year goes, and the planning and the classroom time becomes more efficient because kids are remembering it, what they did the previous year. So it's really exciting to see in the planning when I say, oh boy, last year I started this, 3 or 4 weeks later. So I think we're doing really well. I think the kids are really, really learning and loving it. They just seem to have a lot of excitement for the language. I will say their enthusiasm dwindles a little bit in middle school. Mm-hmm. So the little kids really just love it.
There's one of you and there's 300 and something kids.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
Yep.
Is there anything you need, like, that you're thinking
More time with
about?
them. Yeah, the time is hard. Scheduling is tough. My time does not line up, my prep time does not always line up with a flex or, where I can have that individual time with the kids. So honestly, I often meet with any kids who want to do grade improvement. Right now, our 8th graders are doing a large summative, which is blending a lot of indicators together, working with verbs and vocabulary, kind of what a summative should be, pulling it all together. And so I'm often meeting with them at my lunchtime when, kids want to make improvements or do better or have questions. So I find the scheduling is difficult, but if students want certainly to make those improvements, I'm more than willing to make that time. But more time with the kids would be obviously fantastic. It's interesting, we have two students. One, he, I believe, is 3rd or 4th grade. Newer student is fluent at home in Spanish, so anytime I see him in the lunchroom or anything, I'm speaking Spanish completely with him, with the other kids listening. And then there's another student whose family speaks Spanish, and so between those couple of students, it's fun to see other students hearing it, and yeah. But thank you for asking, and I can always certainly give more feedback. Yeah. Any specific questions, or I guess big picture questions on what the board has for where we are currently or where we want to go?
Teresa was a little surprised because I asked her, she's like, I just gave an update last time. So I wasn't really sure. I said, we can give, and I looked at the recommendations for our 8th graders, and some of them I questioned, but we give recommendations, but it's up to parents and the student. So I know one student in particular was, I assume, recommended for Spanish 2, and they decided that if it is that last block of the day, I play sports, I do whatever, and I rather just do a quick review because I know I'm going to miss that last block. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that's hard. We may make recommendations, but it's really up to the...
Mm-hmm. Out of curiosity, is it, what's prep versus honors? Is that just where they pick up, like in the book, or is it...
At Rutland High School?
Yeah. I don't...
Typically, from my kids' experience, the Spanish 2 and Spanish 2 honors has been a mixed classroom. So you'll take, and I've told some of the students this, you'll take a Spanish 2 class and it'll be a mixed honors and prep in the same classroom, and then honors will have additional assignments or additional vocabulary, as I have understood it. So I don't know if they can necessarily fill 26 students of honors, but you'll have a mixed class with honors being a little more demanding. Yeah.
There's a lot more writing maybe, but maybe for English and social studies. I'm not sure about Spanish, but there need to be more writing.
I mean, I will say the freshmen going into high school, they do have a lot to consider. Sometimes a Spanish 2 class won't be offered both semesters. So if they go in as a freshman, it might be more of a Spanish 1 class, or they might only run Spanish 2 in the spring semester. And so if that student is bogged down in their schedule with whatever else they want to take, they might say, okay, well, I'll take Spanish 2 my sophomore year. There's some sophomores who have taken Spanish as a freshman, also. So I think it depends, like Sarah said, on what their preferences are. I know even with my own children, and I've shared this before, when they've had a really challenging schedule and it's honors, and though I'm their mother and am a Spanish teacher, they haven't always gone for the honors classes. And I say, you know what, take prep, or honestly, if you really want a little bit lighter schedule, retake one. And there's nothing wrong with retaking one and really getting a firm grasp on the content. I would call them one of my star students, really, really strong in Spanish, and they came back from their registration last week and said, oh no, I'm retaking Spanish 1. Like, what? You're retaking 1? And, oh yeah, it's just my schedule, and I think it's going to be better, and okay.
I've heard that before. They're like, it'll be an easy 4.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
So, so I don't want to say that these numbers are an indication of, where our program is, and the lack of numbers isn't necessarily our kids aren't being prepared. I think it's the high school process and, what their choices are, in my opinion, but,
I asked a question which might be ignorant, and maybe you covered it like 6 months ago because I wasn't here. But you said you wanted more time with the kids. Is there anything out there that like shows, best practice? Like, say you weren't doing as much with the little kids, even though they love it, and I know that firsthand because Blake's like singing Spanish songs all the time. But like, is there anything that says like if you didn't do the younger ones and you spent more time like with the middle school, who you said kind of are like maybe pulling back? With that, is it more beneficial to like do it more like immerse them like at an older age because they're getting more time with you, or is it really just sprinkle it throughout the 8 years that they're here? Like, is there anything that says one way?
Oh yeah,
there's Oh okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of I guess documentation, and the younger you get students learning a language, the better. Their brain is a sponge. They soak up the language better. They understand it better. They retain it better when they're getting it younger.
So even just the little bit that you're able to spend with them, it's better than just like working on the older kids.
Yeah.
That makes sense because I know that people are like, oh, when kids learn languages in the household when they're first growing up, that's like
Right.
the best way to do it.
Yeah,
So I just didn't know if
the
that
later
still
it
carried
starts,
through. Yeah.
the less they will retain it.
Yeah.
Is what most of the research will tell you with the language.
Makes sense. I don't
Yeah.
retain any of it because I started in high school. No, I'm just kidding.
But in the past few years, our struggle has been the schedule and the need for the math and English hours that went up. And so a few years ago, I had them 2 days a week. If it was one particular class, I would have them twice a week, 1 week, and then 3 times a week the following week. And then, so it would flip-flop. So it would be 2 1 week, 3 the following week. And now we're only at 2 days a week. I mean, if schedule-wise, if it were to change, I don't know if I could continue covering the Spanish 1 in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and have them adequately prepared for Spanish 2 in high school, should it drop down to less than 2 days a week. So I feel like the past few years, the schedule has dictated our foreign language time more than anything.
And we're working on the schedule, and that a couple of years ago, we needed to expand our math and ELA time, our core content time. And we looked at our schedule. We love all these specials, tech ed and health and independent study and all those things. But we needed to expand core content to get our academic scores up. So you can't take from PE, you can't take from art, you can't take from music. So you have to take some, and you can't take from lunch and recess, of course. So that was the one thing, yeah.
Colin?
Do we have any indication of how our kids are doing, not just the Spanish 2 kids, but in Spanish 1? Or how are we testing once they get to high school? With an immediate follow-up with hearing what I'm saying, it sounds like we need to get more exposure, but the scheduling is a conflict. Does it make more sense to be targeting 6, 7, and 8, or actually targeting the younger kids to give you more time with them? I'm personally not that concerned about Spanish 1 or 2. as I could have them, I'd love to have them exposure, but really good exposure, so whatever level they step in, 1 or 2, that they're very proficient, and they have a solid base. And, you know, if we're trying to manipulate the schedule, what I'll ask you, and it sounds like study-wise, it makes more sense to try to carve out younger kids to get more exposure versus 6th, 7th, and 8th.
So the students entering 1 prep, say last year, so they retook Spanish 1, and just in this as freshmen. So if any of Rutland Town sophomores went in as their first year of Spanish, maybe their schedule didn't allow for Spanish 1 their first year. So this is freshmen only. We had 8 students take it. They were enrolled. Out of those 8, 5 scored at 3 or above, and 2 scored between a 2.9 and a 2.5, and only 1 was below a 2.
Thank you. I mean, I guess the follow-up was, if we were going to try to find more time, which sounds like we need, where does it make sense to find it? Older or younger?
I have to pick one?
But it sounds like we can't pick 2.
Yeah.
Well, I think before Teresa answers that, we also have to follow the teacher's contract. So we can't.
Teach classes right now?
Schedule's full. Her schedule's full. So that's why we decided a little bit more in the middle school and the time that we have with elementary.
And I think we wouldn't want a structure that's like pre-K to 4 Spanish, no Spanish 5 to 8, right? Because that would, then you
Right.
dropped it for years.
Yeah.
And then you go to high school.
And I think we talked about this last year too.
And do you meet with the pre-K too also?
Yeah, pre-K has it once a week for 20 minutes.
That's what I was wondering, how many times you meet with the 1 through 5?
Yep. So pre-K through 5th grade is now at once a week. Pre-K is 20 minutes, everybody else is 42 minutes. And then 6, 7, and 8 is twice a week for 42 minutes. Yeah.
And pre-K specials they're all split. So they'll do PE and then Spanish or art, library, etc. They're little. We're not going to have them in a special for 40 minutes.
What if you keep those pre-K to 2 to 1, like 4 classes, and stack that into 2nd, 3rd, and 4th? Again, you know, getting double exposure. Or does it make sense to give 20 minutes at pre-K? I don't know the answers. I'm just saying, it sounds like we're trying to find more time. We don't have more time.
In 1st grade?
So to cut down the grade pre-K.
Like pre-K through, let's start in 2nd grade instead, and we give them, you know, 62 minutes a week versus the 20 in pre-K, which presumably some kids are there pre-K twice, then kindergarten, then 1st.
I guess I would ask Sarah and Mike, scheduling wise, you know, is that really possible? You know, again, because in the past 2 years, 5th grade was decreased in their Spanish time, and 6th, 7th, and 8th was decreased in their Spanish time. So,
but would you
does their
recommend not
sched-
doing pre-K to Spanish? I mean, that's what Colin's saying.
I think we'd be on a slippery slope of excluding, okay, we're not going to give it to kindergarten 1st, 2nd, where, again, the older they get, the less they're going to absorb it. I guess it would be up for a discussion if that were to be on the chopping block of what would be the most effective, having the middle schoolers have a little bit more Spanish and your kindergarten 1st, 2nd with a little bit less.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, every content teacher asks for more time. Every single one, right? I mean, I hear it from PE, right? Even Mike is like, we have a snow day. Like, I missed this section again because it was 2 Thursdays, right? What are the chances? Or those Monday, Fridays, because we know in-service are usually on a Fridays, MLK Day, there's other things that happen on Mondays. So I think every teacher always advocates for more time, and that's why we include those teachers when we're making any changes to the schedule. So a couple years ago, that's when Lisa Madison was a help. Just, it was a directive. Like, we need to expand our literacy and math blocks. We had to. They were too short. We needed to expand that time. So we had to pull time from somewhere else. And we had kids in a lot of specials. There was a lot of, which is great, but we needed to focus on academics as well. So I wouldn't uproot, my recommendation is not doing anything drastic with Spanish. And I think our results are showing that we're making good gains.
I think
But I'm open to feedback.
you're doing a fabulous job with the time that you have.
Yeah.
And you're giving yourself extra time during your lunch and stuff, which you shouldn't, but that's the way all the teachers are here. They're all, and it's like you're doing a fabulous job. You've been here for a long time. You know what you're doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Any other questions? Concerns?
No, I appreciate your time. It's and the information here between the 18 students and 11 students and things like that. I mean, it's hard to quantify in my opinion because it takes some dedication and commitment on behalf of the students too, right? Like
It does.
to make that leap. So, so it gives us a broad brush stroke, but no, I mean, I appreciate your time, and I'll go on the recommendations of the admin and yourself. Sounds like you're maximizing what you can do with the resources that we're given, and time is a finite thing, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, the question I leave with is there more time in the student schedule to add more language to our middle schoolers? I guess that's the first question that we would have to answer, and if there were more time for our middle schoolers to squeeze in more Spanish, then how would that affect, the schedule with just one teacher? And, where do you divvy up, the time? But.
Colin?
So, and I understand scheduling and where we're at. Is there any opportunity for kids that want more help or want to immerse themselves more? Is there a Spanish club? Is there, like, let's just say we have middle school kids that, or can they take an independent study in Spanish? I'm envisioning my kids doing this, but some kids that maybe want to have that language exposure. Do we have outsourced resources we can be pointing them towards?
Well, currently, let me fill you in on a student that I'm working with right now who wants more Spanish. And so I have created some additional curriculum for this student, and they are continuing to move at a faster pace than what the current class is doing, and moving ahead in the book to essentially better prepare them for what they choose to do in high school. And they're very motivated and they absolutely love it. It is the student who's always asking, how do you say this? How do you say this? How do you say this? I want to say more. And so that's something that I'm currently doing. We certainly could look into doing things after school if there are welcoming parties to add on to the Spanish teacher's time, and I would love to do that, but I honestly, I feel pretty maxed out right now on the number of preps that I have, and staying sane. But yeah, I would love, if there's interest and there's adults that would come alongside me, that I think it would be an awesome opportunity. That is certainly one thing that does suffer in the program, is the cultural point, because I really feel driven for the communication and the language, and we do have a little bit less culture than I would like. But I wouldn't feel right sending them along to Spanish 2 without, the concrete material. And, 42 minutes twice a week is not a lot of time, then when you throw in student-led conferences and half-days and, the Fridays things that Sarah was talking about. But yeah, that would be great, Colin. I would be very open to all of the above.
Yeah, or maybe that's something we can reach out to the city rec or the community center. Certainly the demographics have shifted quite a bit in Rutland, where there's a lot more Spanish-speaking community. Maybe there's community members that would want to have kids, give them exposure. I think that'd be great. I just think other specials like sports. Kids are learning PE in school, but they have the opportunity to play rec sports, to then go on to 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade sports. Or maybe there's a community center where they can immerse themselves in Spanish-speaking people that I'm sure would love to help teach as well, just given their heritage. So not necessarily your job, but maybe we could be reaching out to the community at large.
There's a lot of Spanish-speaking people in our community now. Yeah. I know you don't go to TJ Maxx often, but they're there. You hear it. You go to TJ Maxx, you will hear Spanish everywhere.
It's our biggest store.
Yeah. But, all right.
Well, thank you for your time.
Yes.
For sure.
Thank you.
Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thanks.
Right. So no new business. So on to the consent agenda. I'll look for a motion for approval of the warrants.
Motion to approve the warrants?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Approval of the minutes for March 11th, which was the reorg meeting, and the Carousel meeting on March 19th. I'd take a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Superintendent's report.
Thanks, Tim. I have a few items to cover. I know usually I just kind of ask if there are any questions, but tonight I do want to just talk a little bit about, first of all, the GRCSU Budget Communication Survey. In the resource folder, last month I placed a draft of a survey that would go out to stakeholders. So if you have any feedback, please let me know. If not, we will then draft that, get that ready to go out to parents, staff, community, end of this month, typically after spring break. So just let me know if there's anything you would like to add. If not, then I'll just take silence as consent in this particular case, and we'll move forward with that. We also are, I've met with the board chairs, our executive committee, to discuss revamping our GRCSU board member training, and also to help us better meet the requirements of the district quality standards, which we have to ensure of. So what we are going to do is each month prior to the GRCSU board meeting, we are going to have about a 45-minute training session that'll be both offered in person as well as virtual. And each month will be themed around different items that the VSBA has. It kind of laid out a long laundry list that new board members should be aware of, as well as existing board members. And so what I did was I kind of placed it out on a month-by-month basis to see what that would look like. And so before the May 10th board meeting, I'll be sending an invitation probably late this week, I'd say probably Friday. We'll have a meeting at 5 o'clock. We'll be covering just some basic around open meeting law, just how a meeting is run, just about the Robert's Rules of Small Boards, just other items. Work through a couple different scenarios, particularly around just a variety of things that both new and existing board members continually find themselves up against. And I think that as board members, but as well as parents, as well as neighbors, you find yourselves in a variety of unique circumstances where, whether you get a basketball game and say that I know last year we had a situation where majority of the board was talking about a 7th grade trip, and where individuals had to recuse themselves because they were personally involved. And but if say you're at a basketball game and 3 or 4 of you are sitting together watching your children play, and someone asks a question about something that's occurring, and you start responding, then that does that constitute a quorum? That you're now having a meeting of public concerns. And so these are the items and things that we've got to talk about. It's just how to better navigate board meetings, just the board work as well as governance. And it'll be done with conjunction with myself as well as with the board chairs. And obviously as we go meeting by meeting, we will, we'll take suggestions on things that you may, Jill, Linda, Jeff, Tim, Colin, you might find that, hey, there's a topic that we might want to cover, and we can put that on the agenda for the next month. But it really is trying to make it more immersive, more meaningful for all board members. And so members of public will be invited to attend as well. They won't be participating, but they'll be invited to hear like what board work really is, because I think sometimes they don't really quite understand how challenging board member really can be, and also the amount of red tape that board members find themselves in as well too. So sometimes people come in and make a difference, and they say, well, okay, well I can't do that. No, I can't do that. Well, there's a statute there. So just understanding really, how to navigate that. So I don't know, Tim, there's anything you want to add to that part of this? At the meetings as well. So
yeah, no, I mean, I think coming out of those meetings, what I had suggested was basically that 40-minute snapshot just be the fundamental basis of the topic, that would, just, kind of give a little bit of a blanket understanding of the concepts, and then it's to the purview of the board member to dig deeper into that particular topic or feel like they're comfortable enough with that, and if there's something else that they are concerned with or have interest in or have been, maybe a community member has approached them about, then they can, on their own time kind of dig deeper into those topics and subjects. But, kind of sticking to the fundamental basis of each topic for that 45-minute window, knowing that everyone's time is stretched already and things like that, and it, will be a virtual option and recorded. So, an opportunity to follow up on that.
I think it's a great idea. I will certainly participate because these meetings are so different than other meetings that I've been in. I've been in lots of different kinds of meetings, but this is really a public governing meeting, so it'll be useful.
And as Tim said, we'll house these also on our website next to our regular board meetings. So, and all materials will be in. We'll have a resource folder as well, so people can access that at any time. But I just know that this is what year 31, 32. I can't keep track, and I still find myself in new situations on a daily basis, just because it's. Sarah will call up. I'm like, well, that's a new one. I haven't heard this one
Very
before,
rarely, though, Chris. Usually the last couple phone calls, I'm like, you're never going to believe this. You're like, actually, I've been through this before.
Maybe I'm getting too old, I guess. I don't know. I'm starting to,
So I'm like, really?
I'm starting to laugh around, I guess, a couple times. But, a couple of other things, and I know these are just more updates. I know that H454, many of you should have seen the update today from the Vermont School Board Association, but it did pass through the House Ways and Means Committee by a vote of 7-4. It'll move to the, I do believe, the House Appropriations. I think it was actually started today or this afternoon. We're just keeping an eye on what happens with this bill, and obviously when it goes to across the Senate, what'll happen to this as well. But obviously other things that we are continually just keeping an eye on, particularly around class sizes, which doesn't really impact Rutland Town as much as other schools in our GRCSU, but obviously tuitioning, school choice, just even the redistricting and what that may look like. And I know in H454, they did have a timeline, which if you have an opportunity to take a look at that timeline, I just take a look at that. That is just a recommendation. I know there are a lot of different ones, but it does kind of give you a layout in terms of the work that needs to be done between now and, or at least on this bill, between now and I think July 1, 2029, I think is the final date where everything would kind of be set into motion. So there are some incremental steps that'll be taken. But like I said, this is an ever-evolving, constantly changing dynamic that really is, what's happening in the morning might change by afternoon, day to day. So we don't like to speculate on too many things, but we're just trying to keep a close eye on items. Speaking about ever-changing items, I know many of you saw with Title VI, with the Office of Civil Rights Act. So each year, superintendents are expected to sign off on insurances. There's a long document that we receive, a variety of all sorts of, state law, federal law, and basically saying that we are in compliance with all of these items. And Title VI, the Civil Rights Act, is one of the many items that we will give assurances on. And what Title VI really is around just discrimination, particularly around racial discrimination. But in the past week, we've seen that the interpretation of what this act covers and what it doesn't cover has been politicized in one way, shape, or form. And I think it's one, and I think last Friday, I think it was Friday around 5 o'clock, the superintendents received an email from Secretary Saunders saying, hey, we just want to pass down that we received this recertification from the Department of Education. And by next Wednesday, actually by next Thursday, I'm sorry, the 10th, we just need you guys to sign off and just move forward. And we're like, well, what are we signing here? This is something which we're doing. We are always in compliance with state and federal law. And so, we did, I did reach out to our attorney who was on top of this. I know the Vermont Superintendent Association, the Principal Association, the School Board Association, Vermont NEA all met with our Vermont Attorney General, Charity Clark, with Secretary Saunders, just kind of get a better understanding of what this is and what it isn't. And I know that Secretary Saunders has said that that particularly around programming or things that we're doing around diversity, equity, and inclusion will not change. There are certain things that an executive order does not trump the laws that we have in place here in the state of Vermont, and that she still is in full support. And looking at the work that we do in our schools, nothing would be impacted. But we always say as of today, because we don't know what the future holds and how things will change. And so with that being said, I know that we received an email from Secretary Saunders late yesterday afternoon, which basically said that school boards, superintendents will not have to certify that Charity Clark, the Attorney General, and Secretary Saunders would be taking a similar approach to other states, where basically they would just be sending a single response back to the Department of Education, roughly saying that we are, our schools are in compliance, we continue to follow federal law, and we will, do what we need to do. But that obviously has caused concern in a lot of, community members, because we see what goes on, and there are some people in our communities that are excited about what's going on. There are people that are afraid of what's going on, and that's just the reality of the world we live in. But our goal, we set forth our strategic plan a couple years ago. It was to make sure that all students and staff feel welcome, feel safe, feel affirmed, and that everyone have equal access to high-quality education, high-quality programming, and that goal has not changed, and we will continue to provide that for our students. So when a student or staff member walks in, like I said, they feel like, they feel welcome, they feel cared for. I don't like to sound corny, but in a sense, they feel loved. And I think, obviously that looks a little bit different for a high school kid than a kindergartner, but they do feel valued and feel affirmed, and that is our goal, and that continues to be our goal. So I just, just want to state that, but because I know it's been an interesting 4 days just in terms of what's going on, and I think I know last night WCX was still running an article which did not necessarily update with what was going on, the recent developments, and I think that's where I think even the Vermont School Board Association just sent something out this afternoon, provide an update in terms of what happened yesterday. So, but this is the world we're living in, on a national level, in the state level, local level, and just the impacts. It impacts all aspects, and I think the biggest thing is just to continue to ask questions, and we'll continue to move forward. If there's ever a need for, as a board, to decide how to move forward, then we'll bring that before the board. Okay. I don't know if anybody has any questions about any of that. I'll be more than happy to answer. And so,
I just have to say bravo to such teamwork with those people involved that you said met and talked about what's best for our students and keep doing what we're doing so they can learn in school and be safe and supported and valued. So it's wonderful.
Well, and I'll say this, Linda, like I said, 30-plus years, the goal is, for me at least, hasn't changed education. That's just every single kid just feels, like I said, welcome and valued and safe and affirmed here.
Yeah.
That they walk in, they're seen, they're cared for, and they have a high-quality educator in front of them that is going to provide everything that they need in order to be successful, and they look forward to coming to school. That's most important to us, is they're excited to come to school, and so.
Yeah, I've seen that in our school and the schools in our district. I've been in every one of them, and other schools in Rutland. You just feel it. You can feel it. So keep doing that. So happy.
Any other questions about anything else? All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Principal's report.
All right, so VTCAP is done, but we have a ton of makeups. So shout out to all the teachers and kids that are still working hard. Mr. Lamar and Mr. Bertoloni worked with partnering with some area businesses to do, some of you may remember I did this when I started here with like a raffle. So for those kids that are just putting forth effort, and the grand prize is an iPad, and the kids are asking me every day, when is that drawing going to happen? They're in suspense. Yeah. So lots of makeups going on, and thank you to everybody for being patient. And I encourage you all, parents, to try the test online if you haven't already. Fifth graders have trout in Mr. Escock's room, so those will be released later. We're doing our first National Schwa Day on Friday. So I know my family's getting a little concerned between the gill feather turnip seeds that are here in the Schwa Day. They're like, what's happening to you, Sarah? I get excited. So a huge thanks to Miss Q and all of our teachers. We've decided to start at K4 this year. So there's a folder of resources that she has put together. We have t-shirts that are made, and we're ready to hopefully make this an annual tradition. Congrats to Izzy Klassen and Haley Zaliski they made it to the state championship spelling bee, so they made it there, and Mrs. Neary and Mrs. Cornell for all of their support. Mr. Schneider is back to his jump rope for heart. I got to observe some kids doing some double dutch down in the gym. It is super impressive, keeping track of their heart rate. And as I briefly mentioned, I was contacted by the Agency of Agriculture for the state of Vermont because there were some area schools, mainly those that are Title I schools, that didn't take the state up on this offer for this turnip competition. It's basically who can grow the biggest turnip. So they're looking for a science teacher. I was excited. Katie jumped right on it. I was excited to tell Chris about this as well, his love of turnips. I'm just kidding. So the seeds have arrived. Katie's all excited, and then basically there'll be like a scale and a pitcher, and you try to see who can grow the biggest turnip. I may have to bring some Orwell compost down here because I'm known for growing some pretty big vegetables. We'll see. So that will happen in October. EST is still going strong. We'll show you the VTCAP scores from last year that were included in the packet. A number of stuff going on for physical plant.
Just one thing.
Sure.
With that. Has he called the hospital and talked to the hospital about their flooring?
I don't think so.
Because I was up there a couple days ago, and the flooring that they have now throughout pretty much their whole building is what we want to do.
So I brought some here, flooring. He has reached out to a number of schools, like the Burlington school that's getting built, and some other schools that had new flooring put down as of like 10 years, because I really wanted to hear the should have or I wished from maintenance people and teachers. Do you know what it was called? Was it Flotex?
Oh God, I don't know what it's called.
Okay.
You'll have to call them and.
So Green Mountain Power put this Flotex in. So I have it here if you want to look at it. This is one of Kelly's talked to a bunch of businesses as well as schools, especially, that have used that. So and he can talk more, flow techs. So Green Mountain Power, they had put that in, I believe, 10 years ago. So when we do our all-school evacuation on Monday, Kelly wanted the teachers to take a peek down there. They love it. They've had it for 10 plus years. It's basically no maintenance, no mold, no.
He needs to
Check the hospital too. Perfect. Yeah, I will definitely ask him about that.
That's, I mean, I don't think we want to put any type of carpet texture down there.
Yeah, he can explain more of this because I don't want any carpet anything, but I've been sold on that, and the other schools I've talked to, I've been sold on that. So that's an option. But I will ask him about the hospital. Do you have a contact, Jeff?
No, I don't. Not with.
Okay. I mean, I know people that work there, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't know who to ask. So Harper Environmental, they've done a lot of our PCB stuff. They're now called Turner Consulting. They're actually coming tomorrow with Catamount and like 3 other companies to talk about bids. So they're coming tomorrow. So we're waiting on bids for asbestos. We're waiting on bids for HVAC from JDW, Mark McGee, Vermont Mechanical, and Control Tech. Kelly's reached out to them a couple times. They haven't called back yet. Those are due the 18th of April. So we'll keep you all posted. Markowski's is also coming tomorrow because of the stormwater. So they're the ones that got the bid for the stormwater. So lots of stuff happening there. Once we get the bids and the estimates, then Kelly will need to reach out to floor companies. So that's why he was trying to do that. So I'll definitely let him know about the hospital. I won't read through lots of celebrations, lots of happenings, parent-teacher, student-led conference. Our relocation drill that I had mentioned. We have kindergarten preschool screening, Winnie the Pooh plays coming back, Battle of the Books. Washington, D.C., I will not be at our next May board meeting. Mike will be here because I will be on a bus with 50 plus 8th graders and chaperones for that week. Yeah, here we go. And then we are looking to hire a special educator, 3 long-term substitutes. We got a lot of babies happening here for 1st, 3rd, and 5th grade, and we are in dire need for a paraeducator. So if anybody out there is looking, we needed a paraeducator like a month ago. So we're looking for that, and our numbers continue to remain strong. Any questions in the principal's report before we go back, or before we go into VTCAP? Okay. Chris, do you mind pulling up that? Okay, so as you know, all schools in Vermont are required to take the VTCAP, and Mike, chime in as much as you want.
Yeah, this is it's relatively new, so this would be the 3rd, I think, assessment of it in total. So much smoother than I think in years past it's gone, because we've kind of got our feet under us now. So it is relatively new, a little bit different, obviously, than the SBAC as they kind of do that, but the grades are the same that are still assessed. Mm-hmm. Same standards, the Common Core, and for ELA and Math, the NGSS also. Difference, the testing window is a lot sooner with VTCAP assessment. So we started on March 10th. We here started the very first day of testing because we tend to have a lot of makeup tests that we have to do too. So that's why we are ahead of the game, pretty much wrapped up minus those makeup tests that have to be completed. The testing window closes on like the 25th. Mm-hmm. That's our spring break. So it's actually for us, it would be next Friday, which is the 18th. So all tests have to be completed by that time. Yeah.
So we were able to get those results this summer, and we were able to share with teachers, and I don't think the state released them for the public.
We got individual results.
Yeah, we got individual results. So we've had these for a while. We've had this information. Parents got this information. And I just like to, this is one measure of students, just like similar to our FastBridge, that's a measure. But there's, as I mentioned briefly at the last board meeting, for some kids, this is a lot of pressure. And they're just little kids, and I just tell them, do the best that you can. Yeah. And, everybody has good days and bad days.
And some of them spend hours and hours and hours on it.
Yeah. You were with a kid that took 6 hours.
6.5 hours.
6.5 hours.
Yeah. In total. Not in a day, but
right,
in total.
Right. And that is a long, long time.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to go through a few more of these slides, if you want to click over.
Just tell me what to.
Keep scrolling. I won't read through. I know this is in your packet. If you want us to stop, we can. I think we'll go to where it says RTS ELA test results. So proficiency is 1 through 4 for ELA and math and science.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
Those individual reports, so those are what we got access to. We didn't get aggregate data. That's what they embargoed when it was released, relative, whenever this came out. So parents got that like sometime in the early fall letter with a description and all of that.
Sure. So here, the next 3 slides include our ELA, math, and science. So you can see we saw an increase in our English language arts. We saw a 3% decrease in math. We did see an increase in science. And then the average scaled score for ELA is higher than the state average. And then the average scaled score for math for Rutland Town School is higher than the state average. And the average scaled score for science, 5th grade state average was pretty close, and then we were the same state average for 8th grade science.
Scroll through them.
Yeah, I had just read the notable trends and analysis, and we've reviewed these with Lisa Madison.
So the question for me, I guess, with this is so this is a year old, right? So does that allow you or give you any time to kind of pre-plan how to prepare? Or is there any preparation for the kids that you can get from this information? Since you got it in advance, but we're seeing it now, so I'm like, some of these students aren't even in the school anymore, things like that. So it's hard for me to get a firm grasp of as a school board, what direction could we offer, or what, or how do I even feel about this, being it's a year old, right? Does this information give you, the resource to be okay, this is what we need to tackle, this is what we need to focus on with this cohort, or whatever the case may be, and do you feel like that was implemented?
I think we get the results in this, I forgot when in the summer.
Yeah, sometime in August, I think.
August.
Yeah.
So that's what's frustrating. And then so we were able to share it because
only individual though.
Only individual,
per kid.
Right? Per kid. I'm not surprised. There wasn't anything. I'm not surprised. I don't like that the state average. You can look at them. It's not great. Yeah. Right? So I'm okay. Yeah, we're at or above the state average, maybe 3% low, but still.
And I think with any point of data, whenever we make a decision, we always try to triangulate it. So I'm not going to make a drastic change with an individual kid because they took one test, but how are they doing in the classroom?
Like you just said, you just know that one particular student,
right.
So it's not like you're seeing the trend in a cohort or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the same, I think, with these, looking at it at an aggregate level and just considering those factors. Listening to, I really echo taking the practice test so you can really see and experience it. And even things like the accommodations, like speech to text on it that have it's such a robotic, listening to it with a kid because they didn't have headphones. And I was like, I wouldn't be able to sit through this whole thing. It would also take me 6.5 hours probably, it just takes a long time. And I think, so it's just even the format of it, one test, can they answer those questions, how it looks, there's a lot of those things. In preparation too, we've talked at admin retreat too, Chris especially brought up the formatives, doing practice with these, especially really early on in the year. So we had access to those for a while. Teachers have been implementing those, so they get the kinds of questions, the format of it too, as much as they can. And we also, separate from that, have them do practice tests online, which is the one we're encouraging you to do. Those are public. Anybody can go online and do them. So they do get they get a little preparation with those kinds of things, the tools, the format, the layout. But there's also, I think, nuances in it too. We've talked about those kinds of things. If they see a word on there that says essay, maybe the kid doesn't know. what
Maybe
the
they
word is
thought of
saying.
narrative,
Yeah.
right? So we're learning some of those things.
Kind of adapting as we go.
And I feel this is kind of like our first year. The first year it was rolled out, I would say it was a dumpster fire. I mean, things just were not working. The test wasn't ready.
It was late.
There was lots of turnover at the state level. So when we called, I mean, Mike was interviewing then or shadowing then. You had already accepted the job, and we called. And they're like, well, have you looked at the manual? I'm like, yes, I read the manual. That's why I'm calling you. So I think it was a lot of an experience. And last year, I was like, okay, we're getting used to it. And I feel like this year was more of and Mike did a great job just rolling this out. So it was really well prepared. In an admin retreat, we really talked about it was part of our strategic plan. Everybody's going to do these formatives. And we started the first day the window open on after the time change, which again, we didn't realize.
Didn't consider that.
We didn't consider that, but we won't do that again. So other schools in the district have definitely called Mike and me a lot, just because we've kind of figured out the bumps in the road first.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the raffle too. You probably remember doing these tests, and it's like in Rutland, this testing season, like I remember doing the kneecaps and everybody's like, oh, we have to do this. So the raffle was part of that to kind of help like uplift it a little bit. And like I said, I've been asked like 20 times today when the iPad is being drawn, which is great. But that means they're excited about it. At least something. It gives them something to be excited about. So, yeah.
And I think too, just to be mindful, they get a little bit of a break, but then we have to do fast bridge testing again. And so I think of some of those kids that I was not a strong test taker. That brings me a little anxiety, and they're already worried about that. And I'm like, it's okay. Just enjoy your April break. You're going to do fine. But it's just, these are little kids. It's one measure. Are these scores great? No. Are they okay? Sure. And there's just lots of talk, like parents at parent conference night were saying, are these tests even going to be around next year? And Mike and I were just talking about different countries and how they may report out on how amazing their kids are doing, but they're only testing a small portion of their students and a certain population of students. And so like Chris said, every day, we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but today these are our scores, and this was shared with our teachers, of course.
I think it's like overall a piece of information, but like drastic changes based on this, I wouldn't warrant, unless data was triangulated to show that. But I think our fast bridge scores really contrast this, which is interesting. So.
I wonder if there's going to be the continuous improvement plan among, at Rutland Town School, where you have a group that looks at data and says what we need to do. Is this going to be
So we already started, and we'll invite, and Linda, we're going to ask you, of course, to join. So we started our continuous improvement plan, and we started that with our leadership team first and a couple of other teachers. And Mike has been helping with the help of our interventionist, pulling some data to review what are our goals. And we know, like, our goals every year is growth, right? It's not just about we want X number of improvement. We want growth for all of our kids, even those kids very down at the bottom. We just want to see them grow. So that will be a goal of, growth in ELA and math and science, and then a safe and healthy schools goal as well. So we're gathering data now, and then we will ask for a couple of parents and a board member to join us, and kids, of course, to review that. But we're doing all of that nitty-gritty stuff now.
Yeah, these kind of tests might be something to look at for those reasons rather than just individual student, like the grade overall or the school overall. So the use of that.
Thank you for putting all that together.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks to Lisa Madison. We have an open architect, a new data warehouse system, and she was able to pull this up. So shout out to her for doing that for principals.
On to finance. The monthly reports are in the packet, right? And then, do you want to speak on the forecast?
Lewis cannot join us tonight. I know I shared some things, items with Tim that he can share with the board, but I do believe there was a budget forecast in the resource folder that you all had access to. And let me just make sure. Yes, there is. And that is as of April 1st. So right now, Rutland Town is anticipating a surplus of $626,000. And that's for a variety of reasons. And I know that I do believe for 60% of that is due to tuition-related items, both on the expense side and the revenue side. So these are items that really are out of our control. So it's not as if, we over budgeted or padded a budget. It's just that, particularly when you have a school choice school and, that there are some years you'll get money back and some years you won't. And obviously there's a fluctuation in terms of students that, 8th grade classrooms and, a graduating high school class and the incoming 8th grade class and just the offsetting items there. So it is a good problem to have. I know Lewis has recommended that the board use these funds, kind of try to spend this down, particularly around some building maintenance issues that we already have money budgeted for asbestos and the abatement on that. But I know that when Lewis and I met with Sarah and Kelly, they talked about like the HVAC system, and I don't know if there's some items you want to talk about that we can address, or if there's anything else on that you want to talk about real quick before we get into some of these items. But
Yeah, so one of the asbestos plan that we had, I don't know a lot about facilities, but I do know when asbestos is under my feet and I hear the crunching. So there is more areas of asbestos that we found, which we knew. So that makes me a little bit nervous with any construction, right? We have money set aside. So one of the things, I have an updated facilities plan that's in your folder that was added. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to see what the board would agree to use some of the money for.
it was uploaded, the folder.
Uploaded to the shared drive.
Sorry.
I will hand you this copy. I just made I think I can. I took notes on this draft one. Yeah, I'm sure.
I'll run off copies.
Yeah, okay. So I think for HVAC, one of the things is that getting some people on the roof to do some of that filters for the roof. I don't know quite the language to use. That can happen now. So I think if they could get in here, we have to have a separate board meeting for once the bids are due to see who we're going to go with. But that's one option, is that to use some of that money if they can do stuff with HVAC on the roof with cleaning, whatever. And I'd have to defer to Kelly for that because I don't know the nitty gritty. Or Jeff, you probably know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
A couple of things that I was hoping to use this money for surplus. The first thing is cameras. So I've talked to the board about this a couple of times. So yes, we took out a bond for security years ago. The cameras are dated. It's tough to use. So I have a quote from Greg, our director of IT. And I would like to we have $40,000 in our tech line because Greg has used all of grant money for our tech so far. So all our new computers and stuff like that. So we have 40 grand set aside. So in order to get new cameras and door access controls, that's just like our swipe card and all of those things, that's going to be $70,000. So if I drain the tech line of $40,000, so that's not really in there. So door access controls, 30 grand. I also want to do new Promethean boards. So we were doing like 2 boards per classroom and slowly doing that. I was hoping to just outfit the middle school with Promethean. We've done that for elementary. So door access controls, new Promethean boards, and the cameras. That's 70 grand. If I wipe out the tech line, I would need about $30,000 of surplus money to cover that. So then we have new cameras, new door access controls, and the Promethean boards for the middle school. The other thing, it's not a ton of money, but it is, the curtains in the cafeteria are disgusting.
About that for a long time.
They're falling apart, and they've definitely lived their life.
Yeah.
But they're not, when we had Visbit come, they're not fireproof. So they recommended safety-wise, those should be replaced. My Boys and Girls Club kids that were down there, I was like,
Those are like way past their lifespan,
so,
just
yes.
so you know.
60
I remember.
Those curtains were there when I was in school. So I would like to replace both the curtains for $60,000. So there's a prioritized list on the side here, but obviously it's up to the board. The second one, again, we always go to the safety of kids. The basketball court that's outside by the playground is lumpy bumpy. We've talked about this. So I would love to get the basketball court paved. Now, would it be cheaper to pave by the side of the gym around back? And also I think there was a sidewalk, Jeff, you would know this. Was there a sidewalk by like Catherine Duguay's preschool room at some point there by preschool? Okay. So I would like to get that paved around. However, Markowski's are coming for stormwater and they're going to dig up a lot of things. And this money would need to be spent prior to July 1st. So I would like to do the basketball court for those kids. And I don't know, once they dig that up, what needs to go underneath there.
Well, they shouldn't have to redo the base. They might have to just redo it. But once they pull all that asphalt up, they can just, they redo it.
Yeah.
Just a minor grading of the court.
Okay, yeah, that's the hope. So these were estimates. So I was hoping to do the basketball court, but I listed those other areas that have been on the five-year plan to see what the board would like. New bleachers was another one. The other one that is on here is a sound system for the gym. So every year for the play, we spend over $1,000 for audio, for microphones. We have to rent from a company. And then we love Aaron Audette. He brings a lot of his equipment for us to use. As much as I want to have Aaron Audette stay here forever, that's not the case. And I feel it's a waste of money every year to be spending $1,000 on mics. So one of the things that Greg shared with us, again, this is just an estimate, and we've talked to Neil too, is to get a new sound system for the gym with backdrops for projector screens. So when we do plays or anything like that, you can have a separate scene in the back. So that is $70,000 plus. The other thing on here, this was not on here before, but I had asked Kelly to look into it once I received this information of the surplus, is that every couple years, we spend $10,000 on mulch for the playground.
Wow.
I know that Mike Rowe got some of the rubber mulch for,
Northwood?
what's that?
Northwood?
For Northwood, thank you. I know Mike Rowe got some of that for Northwood. It is extremely expensive. I have heard that Barstow got it as well. So I said, Kelly, can you just call and see to outfit? He about fell over when he shared this price. But I put it in there because once it's done, it's done. It's rubber mulch that stays there. So you're not the labor and all of that of getting mulch $10,000 every single year or every couple of years. So I just had him quote it. That does not include the removal. I know. So I made him put that on there. So I'll leave that up to the board.
Boy, it'll make the school look so much better to have these things done. I mean, you've got to invest in the building. It's
And this is
important building in Rutland Town.
This is what you face when you don't do things. I mean, I asked to do the paving around the side of the gym like years ago.
Every year.
And the bus parking lot needs to be paved. I asked that for years. And it's like, now I'm sitting in a different position. So it's like, these are some of the things we need to do. But we also need to be careful that we have money to keep set aside, for
The ceiling falls in or the roof or.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, You're not gonna get it all.
Right.
Well, I was just gonna say, Lewis has recommended that. I know that there's 626,000, I think, he recommended that we leave at least 300,000 in
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Right.
So, just, we're not spending all of it down to the
Yeah.
dime, so.
I mean, I was on board for the first like half. I felt pretty strongly about, so, like the access controls, cameras. The cameras I know we talked about when we were talking about that LinkedIn company coming in. You know, things like that. I knew that was an issue a couple years ago. The boards, the curtains, the paving that we can do. That gets us at what? 250,000 right there.
That doesn't include the bus
Well,
paving too. I'm just saying, I had just listed right around the school. So, and I know you've talked about that paving over there.
right, and that could be done with a different material.
Okay.
That's 100,000, correct? That's what it's listed here as.
And these are estimates.
Yeah, just
Could be more or less.
less.
Well, that's why I was like, if the paving, I know the basketball court, like to me, I go back to safety for the kids. That needs to be paved. It's lumpy bumpy. But then I'm like, well, could they just go around, give us a deal if they,
Well, the thing is, there's so much water that flows through there, and you gotta watch. That was the thing when we were gonna do the paving around the side of the gym is your stormwater.
and
As it
Markowski's,
stands
right.
right now, or back when I was here, we could not do any more paving on this grounds until we had the stormwater in, all the stormwater things in, so, you know.
and Markowski's are coming tomorrow to meet with, they're supposed to at least, to talk about the stormwater, so it's kind of good timing.
We gotta get that piece done first.
And that, right, and this would
then-
need to happen before July 1st, and Markowski's won't be here until after July 1st, so.
We have to put the money aside for them.
And I will say, well, these are nice estimates, but we should also estimate on the high end. I know they're talking with, friends in Illinois who are looking at school construction projects. Some of the problems they're feeling or faced right now is just project costs, material costs are going up with tariffs and just the impact. So they are, what originally was budgeted at this, they now found that, it's 25% higher just because of material costs and where they're at. So just something to just take into account as we look at projects. We may have to just estimate on the high end just for those fluctuations in cost.
I guess what's the board's feeling, or what are you guys looking for from us? Like, I just kind of started thinking about this a few hours ago, so I'm trying to get
Tim,
it.
would you be in favor if at the May board meeting, I know Sarah, you won't be there, but if you say $300,000, come back and say, here's what $300,000 would be, and or I don't know how you feel about that plan, but I know some of these, we do have to spend by June 30th.
Yeah.
So the clock is ticking, and I know just getting people out here, but
Well, I mean, if the board's okay with the door access controls, the security cameras, the Promethean boards, that tech, because it's 30,000 from the surplus, because we'll all drain the tech line.
Yep.
And the curtains
HVAC.
and the HVAC. And I think Lewis talked about that. Like, if it comes in higher, we anticipated getting money back from Rutland City, that if they can start with some of that HVAC before, we can use that. But it's up to you.
No, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that.
And just to understand that anything over $40,000, there is the bid process, which is time
Yeah, that's
consuming
why I
as well,
wanted
yeah.
to try to
Right.
get some of it in motion,
Yeah.
with still being able to kind of deliberate on some other things.
Correct.
Anything over 40, you said?
Yeah.
these are all things that have to be done.
Yeah.
So what can you do?
So, are we earmarking 300,000? Or are we keeping 300,000? What,
Well, Lewis suggested just, trying to, keep around 300,000 left, right on there, so it would be good. I mean, obviously, if there's a major project, like we had to redo the whole roof, but we're not there right now, so.
Looking at the playground, when we first put that in, it was a PTO fundraiser over a few years. So I don't know if the PTO is something that maybe it would rejuvenate the PTO so that they have a focus, okay, we got to raise this money in some sort of fashion.
You said the HVAC, they're coming out for a bit or something?
They're coming tomorrow. Or no, they're waiting on bids for HVAC. They're due on April 18th.
McGee's bidding
So JDW, Mark McGee, Vermont Mechanical, and Kelly's left a few messages for Control Tech. I'm drafting an email to Lewis and Greg because I just want to make sure that I'm clear on next steps. Because it is a time crunch. I know you guys just got this info.
I mean, like I said, I think I'm perfectly fine with working towards the 300,000, knowing that some's going to probably have to go out to bid and things like that. And like I said, there's up until we get to even paving the basketball court, but Jeff said that there's a hurdle there, right? So like, but
you got to make sure you got the stormwater.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
but we're not adding anything. You're doing just the court, so that can be done. The court can be done, but you can't add any more
On
pavement.
that corner that you and I
Yeah,
want.
you can't until the stormwater stuff is done.
Okay.
But the basketball court is replacement, so that can be done.
Okay.
I feel so. Access controls, cameras, boards, curtains, paving the basketball court. That puts us at roughly 200,000, right?
Well, would want $30,000 from surplus because I have 40 grand in the tech line that I haven't spent due to grants.
Okay.
So I was gonna spend, it's $30,000 for cameras, door access control, $40,000 for the panels for the classrooms. So that brings me to 70, and I have 40 and some change left in tech. So I need about $30,000 from surplus.
I accept a motion. I feel like for up to 300,000, based on what we just discussed, knowing that anything above 40 is going to have to go to bid anyway, so it's going to have to come back for discussion. And if we get closer to, I mean, this is just my own personal feeling, only because of the really lengthy conversations we had when we were talking about, furniture or not furniture, or who can wait a year and things like that. If we get down, still with 300,000 in those last few weeks, I think that's something that we look at. Like, we got 300,000. Instead of discussing it at budget time over $25,000, $30,000 to get a budget passed, can we use some of that money for those incidentals? So that's where my thought is. But Colin, anything from you, or you feel good about the 300,000 to get things rolling? Did you hear?
Yeah, I mean, I like all that. One-time expenditures. I'd like to think maybe the admin could come back with something creative. Capital improvements are very important, obviously keeping up with the buildings, but maybe $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 of this surplus, you guys can figure out a way to have a creative idea that really impacts students. I don't know if there's a way to fund like a slush fund for the kids. I know, we got a lot of teachers that come out of pocket to help kids with various things, projects, trips. Is there a way we can fund, pre-fund that for the future? at maybe Sarah's discretion to use, just something to help impact kids too. I mean, we need to upkeep the building, but $300,000 here and there, like, is there some creative things you guys can come back with on direct impact to kids as well? I'd like to see that as part of the May presentation.
So, Kyle, my understanding, talking with Lewis, is this can be used on items that can be purchased prior to July 1. So, like a program after that, we can't really defer cost. So, like if we're purchasing equipment that'll be used next school year, we could do that. But if like setting aside dollars for a field trip for next year would not qualify. We could not defer that, and so.
Sinking 40 grand into the PTO for said future expenses. I mean.
Well, I'd have to take a look at that, but yeah. So.
Kind of like hiding the taxpayers' money. I don't like that.
That's it. Just something creative. If it's available, other than that, I like the plan, so I'm on board with that.
Yep.
Can I ask just clarification?
Yep.
Okay, so you're giving us permission to use no more than $300,000 of the surplus, knowing that anything over $40,000 needs to go out to bid. So I'm putting this in order. So HVAC, once the bids come back, you will know for anything that could be start and billed to us prior to July 1st. New camera system, door access control, and Promethean boards, minus the $40,000 from the tech line. Replace the stage curtains in the cafeteria and the gym. And then what is pave the basketball court. And what else off of this list?
You have 6 things.
That's where I was at.
Well, how much are we at with that?
130. I don't know how much HVAC we could do, but with that new camera system minus the 40, that's 30,000. Stage curtains, that was 60, right?
Paving was 60.
Oh, the basketball court is 40, and that's not doing around the playground alley pre-K. So.
Yeah, there was never sidewalks out there.
Looks, I had to ask, I didn't know.
Maybe we could, we can't use more pavement, maybe we could put paver stones down or something.
So the other thing that was on here, automatic bleachers. So Lewis gave us a contact from Pulteney High School, got new automatic bleachers. Those were on there. Sound system for the gym and the rubber mulch that's not popular with anyone.
I like the rubber mulch. You've seen it. We have it at my house. It's great.
Yeah, it's just.
I bought a house for that much. That's the crazy.
I get that it's silly.
I know. I was.
For 100,000.
We use them in horse arenas too. Should have known.
For the mulch. What about the sound? How much was the sound system? Tires were.
So the sound system from $70,000 to $100,000 is what Greg thought. So then we have we have a sound system, microphones for kids, the backdrop, projector. So right now Neil usually comes in, it's kind of set up on a wall, and I always hear, when are you guys going to get a sound system for the gym? And then Aaron Audette lugs his stuff in. We rent from the company.
Yeah, it'd be useful.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's expensive.
What was the other thing you just mentioned? Oh, the the bleachers.
The bleachers.
Little history with the bleachers. We put those in when the gym was built, and I don't know if they've been maintained every year. I used to have a guy come from New Hampshire and he would get under there. Well, it wasn't too many years into them when frames were cracked. And so he said, oh, you really need to, look at, getting these welded. And of course, you're going to weld on a wood floor? I don't think so. And so anyways, over the years, I'm sure with the way they're set up now, it's time for updated bleachers. If we have the money to do it, I'm all for it.
Let's see. Those are 30 years old.
How old are they?
30, 20, they're going to be 30 years old, because they were.
Yeah.
That was.
Matter of fact, we sold
in.
one set to a church. They came and got them, but we put the other sets against the wall, because we used to have them on both sides of the gym originally.
And when's asbestos people coming?
Everybody's
That
coming.
bid.
Everybody's coming tomorrow.
So that bid will be due.
I'm not
now?
coming.
Can't wait
tomorrow.
for vacation.
Yes, Harper Environmental, which is now called Turner Consulting, is coming tomorrow with Catamount and other people to talk about the whole scope of the abatement.
So I'm comfortable with the bleacher piece. And then I'm kind of comfortable putting a pause at that point and just kind of seeing where things shake out, where the bids come in, where some of these, if these costs
It's going to
are
be
accurate.
a tight window frame to get all this stuff.
That's the other thing.
Yes.
I'm going to have to really hump on.
And everybody's coming tomorrow.
Not everybody.
There's
A lot
like
of 'em.
6 companies coming here tomorrow.
All right, that's great.
Okay.
Let's get stuff rolling.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so bleachers.
Do we need a motion on this? Or is this
I think you
just
had a-
direction?
Did you have a motion on the floor already, or were you just thinking that motion out loud?
I was just thinking the motion out loud.
I think you can make a motion on this, because to give direction to Sarah, so, yeah. And how are you gonna be using these additional funds, surplus? So it's probably good to have a motion.
All right, so I will take a motion on what we just discussed. Someone will have to deliver that motion as far as the details of it. You feel comfortable giving that, Colin, or you?
The list.
Yeah,
Do you have that list, or?
I don't have the list.
So can I just review one more
Yeah,
time?
and then
Okay, Colin, you ready? So HVAC to start before July 1st if the bids and all of that can happen. New camera system, door access controls, Promethean boards. We would need 30,000 from surplus because we drained the tech line. 60,000 for stage curtains, 40,000 for basketball court, 50,000 for bleachers. Again, it could be more or less. These are estimates.
It's going to be less.
I like your thinking. So is that 180? Okay, sorry. I thought you were
I
adding
don't know
more.
how much the cameras and the access are.
Well, the motion is up to spend
That
up.
it?
20.
yeah, I think the motion I'm looking for is
Oh, sorry.
that to give
180.
the administration the
I got it now. All right. Are we gonna give Marty Wasserman the clicker for the doors? No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe once
I'll
we
make
get the access controls.
for management. I'll make a motion that the board go out to bid and or approve the following expenditures from the surplus. HVAC system prior to July 1st, new camera and door access, Promethean boards, in the $70,000 range, $60,000 for stage curtains, $40,000 for the basketball court, and $50,000 for bleachers. All these are subject to bidding, so they could be plus or minus and have to be then reapproved.
Did you mention security cameras? I didn't catch that. Okay.
Anything else?
Well, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
That don't.
Your
Does that
dream
happen?
is coming true.
I know, Jeff. Gonna see that
Have
through.
a tear. Have a tear.
Really,
I'm telling you.
All right.
You don't know how.
it's meant to be.
Good things come to those who wait.
Thank you, thank you.
Good things come to those
So
who
rubber
wait.
mulch, we're all in the wrong business.
Right.
Well, I don't know if that's a. I don't like.
I
that
think
stuff.
Kelly just spiked the cost because he was like, that's,
He didn't want it.
Studies come back.
All right.
I think you're gonna. Yeah. Anyway.
that's why he won't even put it on the list. I made sure he added it to the right side.
So on to
Sorry.
personnel. I will take a motion to approve the contract recommendations in the packet, which will be found in the minutes for any public that.
I'll make a motion to approve the contracts for the.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Vacancies are in the packet. Anyone wants?
I think they're in the resource folder. She didn't print it out. This is a pretty lengthy document.
All right. On to policy. I'm looking for a motion to approve second reads for E17 and H4.
Make a motion to approve.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Right. Upcoming meeting, May 13th. Be held here in the library at Rutland Town School. Teacher, staff, community comments. Nope, no one wants to hang on. Alright, no executive session. And good and welfare for anyone that wants to share.
What is that? What are you really looking for? Something that the board is doing or personal so people
Personal,
know?
community,
Oh, yeah.
good affirmation. So,
Yeah. I like it.
Well, we're not gonna.
Backing up to that future agenda, did we,
Oh.
it's kind of garbled when Marty, are we putting something about emergency management on the future agenda?
I don't think so at this point, but he spoke during public comment, so I just didn't want to get into a deep discussion. It was an agenda item at the time. I thought he was speaking as a community member at the time, so I just wasn't going to go back and forth on it, but it sounds like he's going to be in touch with the SRO and Sarah, and sounds like it's covered, so. Unless
Yeah,
you,
that's fine. I just didn't want to make a big issue of it, but my indication of emergency management as it pertains to his position is about flood management and disasters, not school lockdowns. So I think that's probably some privacy stuff on our part, that we don't release drills and what we're doing in the event of a lockdown.
So Colin, that's why I explained when the drills that we would, or the what do they call them? I'm losing my mind here. So when we do the sample, the tabletop exercises, we would invite certain parties to different exercises. So there may be, if there's a say we're looking at a run, hide, fight situation on, say, an active shooter, exercise that we would invite, obviously, Rutland Town Police Department, the state police would be there, school, just be individuals that be critically involved. But I know that in others, situations, in other schools where our schools are host sites for Red Cross emergencies, particularly around flooding, that's when we then set up and we liaise with the emergency manager. So there are certain layers, like it's like an onion, that people are involved in. So, but they're not involved in all the inner workings. That's to which we just have to kind of explain. So, yeah. So.
So I'll just go back to that real quick on the future agenda items. I'll connect with Chris usually about a week prior to the next meeting, so if there's something in particular you want added on, you can just reach out and I'll try to include that.
Reach out to you. Yeah.
And then there's also, there is a bit of a calendar that the SU has that we'll try to follow a little bit, right? That as far as like meeting topics.
Yes.
Okay. So that'll be included on the general agenda. So, okay. And good and welfare for anyone.
Sorry, Tim, you're talking about the work plan, correct? That we
Yeah.
approved it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and so last week's GRC approved a work plan, which if it's not in the folder, I'll make sure that Christine re-adds it to the folders. It basically just gives like when VTCAP will be discussed, Fast Bridge, so you have an idea just on a month-to-month, like what major reports will be coming either from Sarah or from the SU. Okay, sorry. Thanks.
For good and welfare, I know there's supposed to be a performance, if I'm not mistaken, at Proctor High School this Saturday, the 12th, Alice in Wonderland, and there are 2 showings, so my neighbor is in the show, so I'm making a plan to go and watch it. I went to the last one, that was the Addams Family, and it was so great. It was really fun to see the kids come out of their shell and be on stage, so I bet it'll be great again.
I just want to wish everybody a very nice and relaxing vacation. Everybody, I think, is ready for that vacation, and it's like, especially poor Teresa tonight, and it's like, I just hope you all have a nice break.
That's nice, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's this time of year
This
you
time
know
of
that
year,
as
it's a joke.
spouse of a teacher too, your wife, that it's I think everybody, these tests are a lot on kids, but on teachers too, and everybody's looking and feeling exhausted.
Yes.
So, and then it's the push, like with all the testing, I have to get through curriculum, and we have end of year trips and graduation. And
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
pressure's on. Yeah.
Relax.
Thank you.
Colin, anything for you?
Arsenal pounded Real Madrid today, so that was nice to see in Champions League. But no, just still enjoying post Lifetime Sports, getting a lot of compliments from parents, from the kids, and just as always, I've been in the school a lot more before wins and other various things. Just the positive environment that Sarah and that trickles down to all of our staff, sports staff, janitorial staff, bus drivers. It's really nice to be in this community, in the school, day in and day out, to see the support that kids give each other, as well as all of our staff. So we have a really good momentum, and can't probably say that for a lot of things going on around us right now in the world. But it's our kids have a nice safe haven and learning growth plan at our school. So thank you guys very much.
Jill, anything to share?
I don't think so. Thanks.
All right. Well, so I'll toot the horn of my 15 basketball players, because I think this time last month we were waiting to go into some playoffs at the Gladzik, of which they ended up winning on the Friday night, which was awesome. And I was super proud of them. And I know we've heard this, I've been on the board for several years, so I hear this at least 4 or 5 times a year, just about how respectful our kids are. And I had a West Rutland varsity player come up to me after the game and say, most respectful team that I've seen come through this gym. And I thought that was super awesome. So
It is.
So shout out to the school, the administration, teachers, families that are raising these kids.
And coaches.
And coaches, for sure.
So, And yeah, that's all I got. So I would take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.